Hey guys! Boy, was the first module intense and dense. There was a lot of material and I want to congratulate you all for getting through it. This module will be much less intense over the next 3 weeks, but it does culminate in your first group project. So whether the first module stressed you out or the prospect of a group assignment stresses you, the next few weeks might help you to learn more about how your body reacts and how you cope to these types of stressors. All of your assignments for the next 3 weeks are posted, and I will only be sending you one Powtoon introduction for this module, though I'll email you each week to remind you of the assignments, and I'll be providing a mini lecture for each week. Here's a breakdown of readings and assignments for the next 3 topics. First, on our 5th week, our topic is stress. Your reading for the textbook is Chapter 4. Each week I provided you a reading guide for your chapter. If you fill this out and take good notes, you should have the resources you need to do great on the quizzes. There's a documentary for this week called Stress, Portrait of a Killer. It will walk you through many research studies outlining how stress impacts health. Both documentaries for this module have viewing guides that, if you take notes on, will help you on the quizzes. You have your quiz and health profile due by midnight on Friday. There are no peer comments for this health profile. You need to complete a survey this week on stress and coping. This is due on Friday as well. This will be the basis for your group project and health profile, so you have a better understanding of measurement in stress and coping in the psychological sciences. More on that later. For week 6, our topic is coping. You need to read Chapter 5 on stress and coping and watch the documentary Happy, which provides you research on how coping with stress leads to better health outcomes. You have a quiz due by midnight on Friday of next week, as well as a health profile. Again, there is no peer comments for this health profile. In your final week of the module, we have advanced topics in stress and coping. The reading for this 3rd topic is on the buffering effect of social support on stress. This will help you to consider an important statistical concept in health psychology, moderators. I found 2 videos from the UCLA Relationship Institute for you to consider contextual factors in stress and social support. There are no viewing guides for these videos, but I think you will quickly see examples of how social support can be both good and bad for stress, and see moderation in action. How would clinicians apply the information you've been reading about in stress and coping? How does what the people say in their discussion of relationships map onto the theories you read about in Chapter 4 and the coping intervention and types you read in Chapter 5? Your quiz is much shorter for this 3rd week since there's not a textbook chapter associated with it. Be sure you filled out the worksheet on the article to do your best. Your module assignment will be due on Saturday of this 3rd week. For a bit more on your module assignment, you will get a chance to look at real data from our class on stress and coping and how this impacts health. That is why you're completing the survey questions this week. I will be running some analyses on this data for you to interpret. This is a group-based module assignment. I am making groups based on similar interests in Jacksonville community organizations from your Module 1 assignment. On Sunday, February 7th, I will have the data set, a lecture walking you through how the data was analyzed, as well as the output from the data and how to interpret it. The data and syntax will be provided for you if you want to try and run some analyses on your own for extra credit. Otherwise, you will have to write a 2-page write-up based on the output I provided on how our class maps on to some hypotheses we would have about stress and coping. You're responsible for explaining why some of these hypotheses are supported, and work to demonstrate all you've learned from the textbook, as well as 5 original primary sources that your group finds on your own. I recommend getting in touch with your group on the 7th and clearly outlining a group leader and assignments for different tasks to complete the write-ups. I highly recommend working hard on week 6 to get the majority of the write-up done, so week 7, the 3rd week of the module, can act as a buffer if things come up or you need to polish the final product. If you feel like you have extraneous circumstances where completing the assignment as a group is impossible, please contact me. I would recommend the group format. However, since multiple binds are better than one, and you will be able to split up the work between you. For your week focusing on stress, you have 2 learning objectives. First, you need to be able to list different types of stressors and explain how each could be measured. These are things like significant life events, catastrophes, daily hassles, allostatic load, environmental and work stressors, social evaluative stress, lack of control, and physiological stress. Taking the Qualtrics survey on stress and coping should help you get a better idea of some of these approaches to how health psychologists would assess stress. You should also be able to explain the pathways from stress to disease using major models of stress and illness, like the direct and indirect effect hypothesis, the transactional model, the diathesis stress model, and Seeley's general adaptation syndrome. You can demonstrate your mastery of these learning objectives in your health profile, where you will be asked to evaluate your own stress. Using the Qualtrics survey with the different measures of stress to discuss how you feel they reflect your stress level. Describe your stress using key terminology and major models of stress from Chapter 4. You will need to integrate at least one research article, a primary source, that provides you insight on aspects of your personal stress. The primary article you choose can also be used for your module project, so they're doing double duty. For week 6 on coping, you will also identify examples of the following types of coping and explain their merits and challenges, such as approach or avoidant coping, problem or emotion-focused coping, and emotional approach. You will also need to compare and contrast coping interventions like stress management, relaxation therapies, deep breathing, mindfulness, cognitive behavioral therapy, and expressive writing. Your health profile is similar to the stress week, using the Qualtrics survey again with the different measures of coping. How did these surveys make you feel about your ability to cope? What is your predominant coping strategy and how effective is it? What would help you improve your coping strategies and skills? You'll need to integrate at least one research article again, a primary source that provides you insight on aspects of your personal coping. Again, this article will do double duty as you can use it in your module project. I'm expecting you to demonstrate an understanding of how to find good academic articles. Remember your research from week 2 of Module 1 from the library. And here are some suggestions. Articles should be recent or highly cited. When you look at Google Scholar, you can typically see how many times an article was cited. If it was cited 500 times, for example, you know that it is important. It is also probably best to find articles from journals that are obviously related to health psychology or stress and coping. Look for articles that test specific hypotheses related to your health profile entry. For example, if you feel that you use alcohol as a coping mechanism, you could search for coping, alcohol, and stress. You can always find an article cited in the chapter if it discusses something relevant to your health profile, and then find the primary source. The full citation for each of these articles are in alphabetical article order at the back of the book. Finally, be sure your article is available in full text so I know you're reading through the entire article and not just skimming the abstract. And be sure to cite it appropriately in your health profile. For the final week of the module, I hope that you'll be putting the topics together to achieve the following 3 learning objectives. First, I need you to list and explain sociocultural factors in stress and coping, such as hierarchical societal structure and gender differences. Next, I need you to recognize what an interaction or moderating variable is in the context of social support and stress. This is called the buffering hypothesis. Moderating variables help explain why there are different relationships between stress and coping and health outcomes for different people. For example, gender could be a moderator explaining the use of problem-focused or emotion-focused coping for men and women. Finally, learning objective 3, you need to demonstrate the ability to apply the biopsychosocial view of coping with and managing stress. Figure 5.9 will be especially helpful for your module assignment. In fact, I chose the measures or surveys that you'll be completing in the Qualtrics survey to map on specifically to these influences. After going through this material, you're ready to demonstrate your mastery of it with your 3rd and final health profile for Module 2. After viewing Stress, Portrait of a Killer and Happy, and reading the assigned article on the buffering effect of social support on stress, reflect on sociocultural factors that impact your stress. Do you find social support to be a moderating factor for stress impacting your well-being? I hope you find Module 2 informative on your own stress and coping and find it applicable to your career aspirations in the medical and health fields. Enjoy!